If you're a real estate agent in today's environment, chances are you have a couple of seller prospects and or clients that are currently debating whether or not to be putting their home on the market throughout this whole coronavirus epidemic. If you're in that position and if you have a lot of clients that are asking you those really tough questions, this video is for you. This is Danny Gould, everyone, with the Selling Silicon Valley Group. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I want to cover what you should be doing, what you should be saying with those clients and or prospects that are currently on the fence right now as to whether or not they should be selling their home in this current environment. And I wanted to start off the video by going back to this concept of a story brand. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Building a Story Brand. Phenomenal book. But it talks about being the guide. The whole book talks about the difference between the hero and the guide. And you as a real estate agent, you need to position yourself as the guide to the hero, right? In Aladdin, who was the guide? It was the genie, right? Aladdin is the hero. You need to be the guide to the hero's journey, right? Because everyone wants to be the hero and every seller wants to feel like they're winning, especially in this market right now. There is so much uncertainty and you need to provide that, you need to be that guiding voice in their moment of need, right? This is the moment where someone like yourself is invaluable, right? Real estate agents right now, a good real estate agent, a good coach, a good advisor is worth its weight in gold. And you need to be that for your clients in this moment. So I wanted to share with you a couple of ideas on how to help coach your clients to victory in this current environment. But let's start off with the most basic thing, which is safety first. I think throughout this whole pandemic, however long this goes, the reality is that you need to put the safety and the consideration of your client's safety and your safety first, right? And so a couple things on that. First of all, if they are older and they have safety concerns, or if they're at risk and they have safety concerns, or if they're just, in general, if there are safety concerns throughout this time, you should always be prioritizing the health and safety of your clients first. However, there are many clients right now, there are many sellers out there who have in this current moment a need to sell. And despite the fact that there is this global crisis going on, they've decided that right now is the best time in their life to move. And if that's the case, then there are certain protocols that you should be doing in order to maintain the health and safety of your clients. First of all, you need to upgrade your marketing standards, right? One of the things that my team has done is we've implemented basically a COVID marketing strategy for our clients. And that includes masks, gloves, sanitization during or before and after every showing, as well as an updated marketing strategy where the buyer can come in, or the buyer can see the home and basically do the entire transaction without ever needing to see the home in person. So making sure that your marketing strategy includes a fully virtual option or the ability to shop completely virtually is going to be invaluable in this market. If you don't already have a strategy set up for that, make sure that you are going into your marketing strategy, whatever you do, whatever you bring to your listing presentation, make sure that you're updating the listing presentation to reflect a fully virtual buyer experience, because that is going to be important for a lot of buyers right now. There are many buyers who are not going to want to come into the house, at least for the foreseeable future, and you want to make sure that you're not losing any eyeballs because of your inability to adjust to the current market conditions. So that's number one, right? Number two, explaining the market conditions to your seller is going to prove invaluable in this time. Let's review some basic facts right now. Right now, the jobs or unemployment is at an all-time high, right? The stock market has plummeted. Foreign money is drying up, okay? And finally, banks aren't lending, or they've tightened. They are lending, but they've tightened up their lending practices, and many investors have pulled out of the market altogether. that leaves a very unstable and uncertain future for the real estate market in the foreseeable future. And any home seller that needs to sell or has the desire to sell in the next 12 to 24 months, you need to explain to your seller that every month that they wait, every week that they wait is an opportunity for their neighbor to give away their equity, right? We've seen it in these types of markets before where it only takes one bad apple to spoil the entire barrel. It only takes a couple desperate sellers in any given neighborhood to bring down or devalue an entire community, right? And we're gonna start seeing that. And it may not happen for another 3 months. It may not happen for another 6 months. But my gut tells me is that we are going to see that sort of situation unfold here in the foreseeable future. And so how can you coach your client to make them understand or to allow them to understand that time is not on their side, right? Well, what I would do if I were you is if your seller is saying, hey, we want to sell in 2020, but let's wait 6 months. Right? Let's wait 6 months to see what we want to wait till the hysteria dies down and everything, and totally fine. If it's because they want to wait it out for health reasons and they don't want to expose their home to the virus in this current environment, and they prefer to wait 6 months in order for the entire, community to get healthier and that they feel more safe and confident and secure. Perfect. That's totally fine. But you need to figure out whether or not that's their true objection, or if their true objection is because right now they're uncertain that this environment, that their home is going to be able to sell for the highest possible price. And the first thing you need to be telling your seller is that getting the highest possible price or reaching the peak is not going to happen. You need to set proper expectations. And you set proper expectations right there at the very beginning. And you say, hey, look, Mr. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have a beautiful home and I have no doubt that it's going to sell. The only reason to have me here is to get you the highest possible price that we can currently get in this environment for your home, right? But then you explain to them, right? You explain that there are things that are out of their control. There's circumstances out of their control that might cause their home to sell for less than what their neighbor's home sold for, right? And most sellers are going to understand that that's the case right now. But here's where it gets tricky, because we are living in a situation right now where things are very unstable and things are very uncertain. And we can't predict with any degree of certainty what's going to happen in 3 to 6 months, right? We don't know if housing is going to come roaring back. We don't know if the economy is going to come roaring back. We don't know if jobs are going to come roaring back. We can assume that once most communities lift their shelter-in-place act, that jobs will resuscitate. But what does that mean for the economy in general? Well, depending on the area that you live in, and this is why these videos are I'm trying to be as general as possible with these, but really in this market, in this current environment, what you need to tell your seller is that, or your home sellers, is that in 6 months we run the risk, we run the gamble of everyone that's in their situation having the same idea all at the same time. There were many home sellers who had plans of selling their home or planned on selling their home in the spring of 2020. Most of those sellers are no longer selling. Once the hysteria dies down and once people regain a sense of normalcy back in their life, in 6 months, say, right? I fully expect there to be a flood of inventory at that time of all the home sellers that had planned to put their home on the market in the last 6 months, but didn't get around to doing it until that time. And so what we can expect to see is a flood of inventory, right? And with more competition means that buyers have more to choose from. And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if we have more competition, do you think your home's going to sell for less, or for more, or for less, right, than what it was selling, than what it would have sold for now, right? And that's the reality, is that right now, despite the situation, there are still eyeballs on properties, right? And that's the good news. And what you need to be able to do is coach your seller into realizing that because the inventory levels are low right now, they still have an opportunity to capitalize on good market conditions. They're not great, but they are good in the sense that there are still buyers who are buying and inventory is very low. However, if they wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, every month they wait is a gamble, because at any given point, that surge of inventory could happen. And it happens, guys. It happens in the blink of an eye. And no one can predict when, no one can predict how it's going to happen. But I think we can all agree that something like that is going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. Whenever we rebound from this, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. When inventory levels are suppressed, we're at 30 to 33% of the inventory levels that we were at this same time last year in Santa Clara County. Think about that. 33%, a third of the inventory, right? What's going to happen to that additional 66% of inventory that wasn't listed in these 6 months? Do you think those sellers just aren't going to sell? Of course not. As a matter of fact, what most people are failing to talk about right now, and feel free to use this with your home sellers, is what most people are not talking about right now is the fact that there are many baby boomers out there who are strapped for cash, okay? And they were cash poor before this happened. Right? Many of them were using their homes as piggy banks, right? Drawing out equity in order to survive. Well, all of a sudden, in the last month, they've seen their portfolio get cut in half. So whatever retirement funds they planned on having, those retirement funds just got cut by 50%, right? And they're looking at their runway and they're saying, "My goodness, honey, we're not going to be able to make it." And it's very sad to talk about. I'm saying this from a purely analytical perspective. I hate talking about this, but it's the truth, guys, right? And so we see the writing is on the wall. These people, at some point, those boomers are going to be forced to sell, those people in that position. And the reality is, I don't have statistics on this, but you take an anonymous poll out there, I guarantee you the majority of baby boomers who are homeowners fit that description. Think about that. In 2007 is when banks started pulling out on lending, okay? That's when foreign money started drying up. That's when jobs were really bad, okay? All of those, in 2007, the market didn't bottom out until the middle of 2009. Okay? It takes 2 full years. It took 2 full years for us to fully experience the full wrath of what that initial shock to the system had on us, right? It took us 2 full years to get there. And so even though we're not in that same exact situation, history does tend to repeat itself, right? The stock market plummeted, right? The jobs are low, right? The unemployment rate is high, rather. And when you start to couple all of these different factors together, the reality is that the times that we're living in right now, we're in uncharted waters. But if you look at some of the leading indicators of market corrections in the housing market, we're seeing a lot of those right now. You need to be able to coach your sellers into realizing that now is the time to act, because the truth is that while we're not 100% certain whether that's going to happen or not, there are many leading indicators to indicate that we may be in a bad position here in the next 3 to 6 months. So that the sooner that they act, the better. And that is that's the advice I'm giving all of the sellers that I'm working with right now. And if I were you, if I were in your position, real estate agents, that's the advice that I would be giving to my clients as well. This is Danny Gould, everyone, with the Selling Silicon Valley Group. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything down below, go ahead and throw them in the comment box. I know it's not all doom and gloom, guys. It's not all doom and gloom, because the reality is that whatever type of impact this has on the housing market, it will be a far cry. It will be a far cry from what we experienced back in 2007, 2008, 2009. At least that's what I expect, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm an eternal optimist, but the reality is, everyone, is that we should be prepared for the worst, and we should also prepare our sellers for the worst. Because if you educate them and they still don't listen to you, and that becomes reality, then at least you don't have that burden on you, or at least you don't carry that responsibility when you sell their home for, say, 5 to 7% less than what they could have sold it for 3 to 6 months prior. Got it? Good. Catch you guys in the next video.